Hello, YouTube. Did we just bottom on bad news? The S&P is now putting in a substantial day. We are up by 2.6% on the S&P and 2.35% on the QQQ. And the question is, are we bottoming on bad news? And I say that because even Credit Suisse closed green today, which a lot of people were wondering whether that was the company that had that bankruptcy risk. We look here at Credit Suisse on the day. It closed up by 2.3%. It's basically in line with the market. So people are talking about credit default swaps or CDSs, and I'm not going to bore you with exactly what that means. All it means is that people are scared about a 2008 moment like when there was the Lehman Brothers. And as of right now, Credit Suisse is actually not as, in terms of its ratios, meaning how people are looking at the percents for the risk, it's not as bad. The credit default swaps are not priced even quite as high as they were back then. So at least for right now, we're breathing a sigh of relief. And we know there ain't no party like a bull party. The bulls showed up today and they bought almost everything up to start the quarter, the month, and the week off on a really bright note. The question is, where are we going to find that resistance? And are the leaders of yesterday still going to be the leaders of tomorrow? Because we can note here that Tesla is pretty bloody on the day. They took a huge shot at Apple last week. Now they're taking a huge shot at Tesla. So we want to ask ourselves, at what time of the day did we actually move? It was right at 10 a.m. So I'm going to show you a chart. I'm going to show you what happened, and hopefully you're going to follow along. Please make sure to drop me a comment and tell me what you think happened today, how you traded, or just any notes you have. Looking here on ES, or the E-mini futures, we can note that we were battling for our 50 MA, which is at the open, it was here at about 38.30, 39-ish. Also happened to correspond with our key pink area, or our pivot, at 36.39. And we came here to our most recent downtrend. We broke it, and then we squeezed up. So what happened on this hour? That was 10 o'clock. Yep, that was the 10 o'clock hour. So that is where bad news, or the ISM manufacturing actually contracting or printing less than 50, actually came in and boosted the market higher. So that's pretty much what happened. We did hear a comment from Fed Chair Williams from New York today. We're going to hear from Bostic later. Mester George spoke earlier today as well. But this pretty much speaks to, yeah, we're fish swimming upstream right now. But as you can tell, that's a pretty nice rip. We were up more than 100 points on the E-mini futures from low to high, 10 points on SPY. That's like a lot. So when we look here at the fish swimming upstream, we can read a quote. And this can tell us whether or not we are going to see more, or if it's just a one and done. So during my 40 years trading, none of my success came from picking a bottom right at the low. The low happens on one day, but the bull market lasts for years. The big money is made spotting. The big money is made spotting trends, not bottoms. And I'm going to pull a screenshot up here. But if we think about this, okay, well, that's nice that we're going higher on an hourly chart, but we're still inside of our channel here. So the blue line here shows us that we're still stuck. Yeah, it's a violent bear market rally. We know that some of the biggest rallies during the year happen in a bear market. And we can note that here by the day where it says patience. Bonetown, that was a massive day that we had. So why is it so important that we not just look at a daily chart today? Because it's also nice that we closed above Friday's high at 36591. QQQ stalled out right around that area. So that's where we found resistance today. But what we want to think about is, where do we find support? Because it was really important. So now we're going to note that the Friday high on the Qs is 275.19. Today it is 275.16. So we made it within 3 cents, but not quite able to get to that high. We also have lower volume, so definitely was a reluctant rally is what I would call it, because we reluctantly rallied all day. And let's go back here to our weekly chart now. That 200 weekly MA bounce that we called and we were looking for. So this is really important because it just shows us that we got a nice big old violent rip off of our 200 MA. And what I mentioned on the weekend was, if we were able to get through our 363.29 low, which comes from 2 weeks ago, we're starting to invalidate 2008. However, what we still have to do is print a weekly higher high. So as a reminder, that's where these notes come from. And we note here that until we can print a weekly higher high, there are no longs. Those are hard pennies. So yeah, the bulls absolutely did really well today. But what they weren't quite able to do is to print a weekly higher high. All they got was a daily higher high. So at 10 a.m., we started doing it. Fish are swimming upstream. They're getting some traction. And there's one comment here that got my attention. So I think what's really important here is how close are we able to get to the weekly high until before Friday? Because like if we have momentum right now, we want to make sure that if we're bulls, we're not ignoring the fact that we still have like a lot of work to do here. There's still a significant amount of progress we have to make to the upside for us to start to be looking at a more bullish scenario. So Fed Chair Williams pretty much told us that blah, blah, blah. Inflation likely to get to 3% by next year. Fed cooling inflation, but underlying pressure is still strong. Fed will do what it takes to lower inflation, echoing what Brainerd said, echoing what Jerome said. So I'm not really seeing the Fed do very much here. The fact that Credit Suisse is green, to me, signals that there's probably not systemic risk like people are kind of starting to price in. We're definitely seeing relief. It's how we climb the wall of worry. And from the open until the close, we actually went from extreme fear back into extreme fear. We were throttling here at about 26, 27. And now we settled back down here at about 23. So the bull case is weak. It does not mean we cannot get a move, though. And as people know, like our algorithm is going to be looking for specific criteria. And I think that tomorrow could be big boomtown if we can continue to go higher. So now we understand that, yes, it's nice we're moving higher. It's nice we got that daily higher high on SPY. QQQ stalled out a little bit, probably largely led by Tesla. But now we got to watch this weekly area. So why is this important? Let's zoom in again. Let's try to see if we can understand what it is telling us. So we note here that on the week, we have 36329 as our low. Where do we make it to today? Well, we settled above the open from last week at 36641. And we stalled out basically at the close from the week of the 19th at 367.95. We overshot here by about 55 cents, and then we just settled in between the two areas. So that's pretty much what happened. We're making huge progress on a 200 weekly MA bounce. Please remember the last time on the NASDAQ that only led to a single day rally. So we definitely want to see some continuation. But even now, the Qs are above their 200 weekly. So if we're going to keep going higher, since we're closing at the high of the day and we're near the high of the week, the momentum is here. We should be able to keep climbing. So, cheer these bulls on and see if they're able to get us even higher. We've already made it a significant amount to the downside, and we need to see that weekly higher high before we start to look at higher areas like, I don't know, like 370, 344, which I believe is our 2021 close, or 2020 close, sorry, and then 378. And then we can get up to our negative 20% target, which is our bear market. And in terms of key dates that could get us there, I went over this on the weekend, but tomorrow we have Jolt's jobs opening, which is 1 hour after the market open. So what I'm going to watch for is going to be the feedback loop, meaning how is Asia going to trade? How is Europe going to trade? And then leading back to the US tomorrow morning at 9:30. And then at 10 o'clock, do we get a bad number? Does the Jolt's job openings actually start to reduce? Which would be what? Bullish for the Fed. And if you look here to tomorrow, I'm actually curious what they're forecasting. 10.77, and before it was 11.3. So we're going to be losing 500,000 open jobs, or about 5%. We'll see if that number comes in red or a miss, because I think that'll be pretty notable. Otherwise, we're looking to, there's a data point every week, but Friday is really the big one. This is like the make or break. And that's where, if we're going to start rejecting and we're getting momentum into the first half of the week, I still think we're going to get the opposite move into the second half of the week. I do have to be mindful that we are now making significant progress. We have an inside bar, bounce over the 200 weekly. If we're going to get our Fed pivot, that's what we're watching for. We're watching for a weekly higher high off the 200 weekly. Watching this really close. All right. And now, if we think about the charts that are really driving us here, we know we got our 50 weekly, 200 weekly here on the Qs for noting here, which means we bounced almost off the green line, or our 50 monthly, and then made it back above 272.97, or our 200 weekly moving average. So a couple more days of sideways, that'll probably be good enough to stop going down. Need volume, though. Need to send the volume. Over here on SPY, we still have that upside gap at 373.44. We made it almost within $1 of getting there, 372.3. And the last thing I want to look at, and part of the reason why I think we faded into the close, is just that I think that if we think about the CFTC data that we looked at on Friday, CFTC, I don't have it here. Remember that there was half of the short taken off. So I think this is like really important for us to try to just be keeping an eye on, because, well, look, right, we went from 280,000 contracts to 150. So that's why short squeezes are so violent, because they want to get us back up to an area where they want to start reshorting it. Where's that going to be? I don't know. But as of right now, we got a bear market bottom. And if we're rejecting off the weekly areas, I'll keep watching for those. That's where I think we're going to find the push pull. In terms of options, oh boy, did the bulls get paid today. But Maximum Pain told us that roughly 366 to 367 was going to be max pain. So they burnt all these puts into the close. These calls got burnt, but the fat stack still got paid. The fattest one's at 365 and 366. So nice, right? You flex it, bulls, right? Right? Shake it, Mike. Let's go. Let's see what's going to happen into the rest of the week. Just looking out here to Friday so we can get a quick little clue. Remember that 373 area that I talked about? 370 calls for Friday are worth about 330. So that is basically meaning a gap fill sometime between now and Friday for the 370s. Want to see whether or not this actually converts into more open interest. On the bear side, they're still motivated. We'll see if they show up or they flex or even do anything. Why? Stocks generally bottom on bad news, and we're bottoming. Is it going to be enough? I don't know. Watching closely. Make sure to watch the weekend video if you want to know more. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you.